I think they're doing amazing things to help the community in the ways that the community is trying to take the product. And the company recognizes those things, and they want to help those things happen.
I'm here with Jeff Menges, one of our most esteemed artists in Sorcery. It is so exciting to get a chance to sit down with you and also to watch your process a little bit while we're talking. So for those of you who are joining today, we're at the Midland Mayhem event, and Jeff has come down to spend some time with us. I was hoping we could just talk a little bit about your process and maybe the things that really drew you to this particular game system.
Sure.
And I know we had talked a little bit earlier too about the really neat component of your work that kind of affects people in different ways than an artist may not realize initially, and maybe we can touch on that too. So, that might be fun to start out with that, to talk a little bit about your experience as an artist, kind of hearing the impact that your art has on other folks and how that might inspire you to do works in a different way.
It's a pretty hard idea to get a grip on.
Yeah.
And I think there are fleeting moments when it makes itself known to me, or when someone else might witness it. But they are indeed very fleeting, and I don't know that they change my thought process much. But it definitely is a dose of humility.
Yeah.
When you realize the gift that you're given and the fact that sharing it is not just about you.
Yeah.
It is about all the people that your work touches.
Yeah.
And that it actually means things to other people.
Yeah.
And yes, sometimes you have to acknowledge that. And I'm super grateful for it. I'm super grateful that my work means something to other people.
Yeah.
It's a crazy cool thing.
Yeah, no, I think that I probably am not overstepping by saying this, but thanking you on behalf of the community for really creating these incredible fantasy experiences and giving us the opportunity to have a window into your imagination of the worlds that you're creating.
Well, thanks.
We were talking a little bit about that earlier, and I was really interested to hear about kind of the story you had shared about what got you into creating art and these fantasy worlds, and was wondering if you could share a little bit about that and what that experience has been like for you as you've kind of aged and advanced in your career too.
Sure. Well, for a young teenager to get involved in fantasy themes today, it's usually because they're either reading comic books, seeing stuff on TV, or in rare occasions, getting that same information right from games.
Yeah.
But when I was doing a lot of that in the late 70s, early 80s, it was simply about the books I was reading.
Yeah.
And not that people aren't reading books today, but it's a lot less than it was.
Yeah.
But books were a real escape for me, and the art that graced their covers was something totally magical.
Yeah.
And I was pretty gifted at art. It was something that ran throughout my family. My father was a painter, my grandmother was a painter, all amateurs, but sincere.
Yeah.
They really were trying to do better work.
Yeah. Kind of had that passion that drew them to it and the love of the experience.
They showed me a possibility.
Yeah.
Because if no one is there to set that example that as a person you can achieve that likeness,
yeah,
it's hard to understand that it's actually accomplishable.
Yeah.
And I saw that from them.
I love that. And I'm hoping that people watching this, and especially choosing to really focus on your hands instead of us as people and showing kind of the art that you're creating now while we're talking, if there's someone out there that's listening that's interested in in art or interested in trying to share their imagination with other people in a physical medium, but are maybe a little intimidated or scared to do it? Maybe they don't think they're the best at it.
Right.
What would your advice be to those people?
Well, there are a lot of professionals who work in the visual field who also weren't the best at it, but they were persistent.
Yeah.
And persistence can get you a long way.
Yeah.
By not giving up on that interest, and to go back to what we were discussing earlier, it also works in music.
Yeah.
I'm not gifted musically, but I can see that dedication to the craft can teach you how to work through a situation.
Yeah.
And there's a lot that can be learned visually, artistically, technically, that has far less to do with talent than you might believe.
Yeah. Yeah, so really that stick-to-itiveness, the desire to just keep doing
craft. It's about developing a craft.
Yeah. So thinking about that process, I know that one of the other things that you had described was almost being able to visualize and walk through your works or even the book covers and see that moving in motion.
Yeah.
Is there a particular scene or type of scenes that really draws you in and you feel really excited about getting to create works in those spaces?
Well, I often describe my career as being a landscape artist that's stuck in a fantasy job.
Which I think a lot of your cards showcase that, right? With these incredible landscapes.
It is naturally what I am drawn to, so it's what I excel at. And some publishers more than others have recognized that and will use it to their benefit and mine.
Yeah.
I do love doing kind of, I love the wild, I love nature.
Yeah.
When I can pull that into the cards and when I can take the environment around me and bend it into something imaginary.
Yeah.
It makes that imaginary stronger.
Yeah.
Because
it makes it very real too, right?
Believable.
Yeah.
When you can take real environment and start to use it to support your imaginary ideas, that's when those imaginary visions become believable ones.
Yeah. I'm kind of getting goosebumps hearing you talk about this because one of the things that we were discussing before we started this recorded conversation was just your transition into moving to a place that allowed you to feel more authentic to yourself. So
it did.
Moving out of the big city to an area that had more wilderness, more nature. And you know, it's exciting for me as someone who really appreciates your works and your art and the cards in particular, to know that that's also coming from a place that gives you great joy. And you know, having that experience, I can also imagine, gives you that much more passion when you're creating those imaginary landscapes.
I think so.
Yeah.
I know that just driving to the next town over to pick up a bag of dog food or lumber supplies maybe. I'm driving along a river for half the trip and through the Appalachian Trail. That's how I get to the next town. And so I see all kinds of terrific natural stuff. And I'm always, it is hard for me to keep my eyes on the road.
I can imagine.
Let's just say that.
I can imagine. Now I've got two questions to follow up on that. One is more of a selfish hiker question. Are you a trail angel? Kind of the person that drops off food or some things for the hikers that are coming through?
I haven't done that because I don't participate in a lot of the events of long trail hiking.
Okay.
But I am a member of the Trails Committee on my local town, so we do a lot of like footbridge repair or clearing new paths, just making sure that everything is safe and litter-free mostly.
Well, thank you for your contribution to keeping those spaces enjoyable, safe, and
absolutely.
And you know, thinking about that, do you ever do any field work? So bring your paints or your sketchbook with you.
I had a really good fortune 2 years ago. I won an artist residency with Finley's Farm.
Oh, cool.
Which is an outfit out in Pennsylvania that supports illustrators in this kind of work.
Yeah.
Although I'm sure that they would look at other folks as well, but they have a real passion for that imaginative realism.
Yeah.
And what they're offering is a space where you can be for some of their awards are for 2 weeks. The one I had was for 5.
Oh, fantastic.
So I stayed at the facility or the residence there, and just every day, like I was going to work, I went out and did painting at this state park or this part of the property, or went out and took photos over here. And a lot of the work I did there has fed the imagery that I've put into Sorcery.
Yeah, I was about to ask that, yeah.
Especially some of the stuff that is coming up.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of natural environment in some of the upcoming pieces, and some of it is directly in response to the work I did doing plein air painting at Finley's Farm.
Oh, that's incredible. As someone who grew up in Pennsylvania, knowing that the environments that I kind of was raised in are going to be represented in a game that I love so much, and in a way that, you know, kind of captures that imagination that I had living in that space as a kid. I am so excited. So
nice.
Thanks for making my day with that little bit of tidbit there. So we were talking a little bit about what really drew you to Sorcery, and the thing that really made you feel like this was a game system that you wanted to get involved with.
Well, I pretty much received an invitation. I don't know that I was aware of it previously, but I'm not sure. I either found out about it through Drew Tucker. He might have told me a little bit about it, or Drew told Eric at Eric's Curioso that I might be a good candidate to work with them on the game. They were already working with Drew. He was, I think, the 3rd artist that they decided that they wanted to add to the roster. And I became the 9th. But it was a really good fit. After the first discussion I had with Eric, they wanted only traditional art, no digital work. And it's not that I have anything against digital art. I did tons of it as a cover designer, but it's also why I don't want to do it now.
Yeah.
What would happen for the years I spent in publishing, I would be working on Adobe products almost 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
And when I got home, we'd have dinner, there'd be family time, the kids would go to bed, and I would go to the studio. So when I went in the studio, the last thing I wanted to do was get back into Adobe product and keep working digitally. I wanted to work like I'm working right here.
Yeah.
I wanted to draw. I wanted to push paint around. Yeah. And that's exactly what Eric wanted for this product. Yeah. So it was a really good match, considering I really don't want to be working digitally. He didn't really want digital artists. Yeah. So that in and of itself was a great start. And he told me about the direction or the themes that the game was going to explore. And he knew about my history with card games. I was still actively seeking work in fantasy gaming. I was doing work for role-playing systems. Occasional card job would pop up. But my biggest clients were certainly in my past. So when Eric brought up this idea, he fed me a couple of cards to do and gave me what I thought was a reasonable offer to do them. I didn't know that working with Eric might pay off down the road in such a big way, but I also know that taking chances on people that you you kind of have to feel them out and see. And there's some people that you want to take chances with, and some people that you feel like maybe I should stay away from. But this all felt pretty good right out the chute. I liked where it was going. I liked the way he was talking. So it certainly seemed worth my time. And usually when I'm working on a new project like that, the worst thing that can come out of it is I get a few new paintings done.
Yeah.
And that's never a bad thing,
Yeah.
Unless I'm backed up trying to get them done for somebody else. So I did a couple. They liked what I did early on. The Bone Rabble piece was the first one I did for Sorcery, and that was in December of 2018. And just one led to another. Once I got a couple done, like he would give them to me in groups of 3, and when I finished 3, he would give me 3 more.
Yeah.
And it just worked like that for a good long time, until the game finally was about to get off the ground, and then it entered the Kickstarter process. And it's just been a really fun ride so far, and they just appreciate the work that the artists do so much. It feels so welcoming to be working with them.
Yeah, to hear you share too that Drew may have even gotten you into this. To me, that's
I
the
fully
message
blame
of
him.
We'll go on the record
in
and say
a
that
positive
now.
way.
Yeah.
I really do.
He's
a good friend, and he did me a real solid by throwing my name in the ring.
Yeah, and I can imagine too, hearing that someone that you respect is really excited about something sends that message of, hey, this might be something special.
Oh yeah. It's a funny thing about illustration. There's not as much competition as you might think.
Yeah.
There is plenty of room for all of us to do well, and it's a case of a high tide rising all ships.
Yeah.
If we're all doing better together, then every product we work on is going to look better and be more successful.
Yeah.
So.
I love that spirit of collaboration, and I think the cards themselves kind of send that message to the viewer too, where you can tell that A, it's a labor of love, but B, it's very clear that there's been some sort of connection between people, and there's some cards that might mirror or have subtle references to other things, and I think you can really feel that in the art itself.
Thanks.
Now, last question. This may be a short answer. You've referenced some of the work that you're doing for future sets, and I don't want to ask you to disclose anything that would be, breaching an NDA.
I can't tell you anything.
But this is more about the feeling about it, right? So not necessarily about the specific cards or any of the details of the art, but what's your level of feeling and thought process about how Legends is going to be received? Is there anything in particular you're really excited for people to see and react to? And tell us a little bit more about anything that you might be able to share about that experience.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah.
I think that the work that's going to come out in Arthurian Legends is really it's going to really surprise people, because the elevation of the art is going to be pretty quick.
Yeah.
Speaking for myself, there was a bit of a jump when the cards finally got into my hand, and I could see what everybody else had been doing.
Yeah.
Because while there is a loose network of artists, and we have our own chat group and stuff like that, where we can talk to each other without necessarily
so cool.
hearing about, worrying about what other people are thinking. We have our own boxes
that's
we
so
can
cool.
go into. But seeing what everybody else is doing really helps elevate your own game. It's not, like I said, it's not a competitive thing. It is like, these are the wolves that I want to run with thing. So when somebody else is doing some phenomenal work, you're like, I want to make a statement that I belong with this group.
Yeah.
So it is inspiring to you to elevate your game, so that when that next set comes out, it looks truly like you're part of that crew.
Yeah, the spirit of friendly competition.
And oh my gosh, if everybody in the group feels a little bit of that, then I just can't imagine what this is going to look like when it hits the shelves.
Oh, fantastic. I am so excited. And I know that everyone else I've spoken to can't wait to see the cards, to explore these universes that you're creating. And I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.